Hello all, I wanted to take this opportunity to explain the difference between a 3PL and a 4PL. A 3PL is a third-party logistics provider. We just call them 3PLs. A 4PL is called a fourth-party logistics provider. Okay, these are just buzzwords and nomenclature in what you're majoring in. Again, you're integrated supply management majors. That means you're majoring in supply chain management. What that means is you're majoring in three distinct yet interrelated functional areas, those being purchasing, operations, and logistics management. A component of what you're majoring in is logistics. There are companies out there where that's their core competency. That's all they do for a living. They can do it better, faster, and cheaper than other companies that don't have a core competency in logistics. And that's why this field has exploded. To me, a 3PL or a third-party logistics provider is simply a company out there that can provide a logistics service to a customer. It can't do everything from beginning to end for a customer in terms of logistics, but it can do some things, a lot of things, but not everything from beginning to end. What's happened is these 3PLs, these third-party logistics providers, used to be mom and pops and really small, and they got bigger and bigger and bigger, and they've evolved. So think of a guy with a truck that would move stuff around. All right, now it's 50 trucks, and they have warehouses, and they have containers on trains, and they have freight arrangements with commercial airlines to move freight that way. So they've evolved and developed into 4PLs. So 3PLs are companies that have evolved into 4PLs, or there are some 4PLs right now. The way I look at it is take a look at J.B. Hunt. That is a fourth-party logistics provider that can basically do anything logistics related for you. So if Whirlpool says, we don't want to do logistics ourselves anymore, inbound, outbound, warehousing, distribution, because we have to focus on designing and building home appliances. That's our core competency. We don't want to spread our resources out too thinly by managing logistics. So J.B. Hunt is an example of a company that was once a 3PL that has evolved and developed into a 4PL because they can do almost anything logistics related. Okay, the other part of this is 3PLs and 4PLs, they can be asset-based or non-asset based. And that's very important because I feel like if you're majoring in supply chain management, you want jobs in supply chain management and you want companies to pay a premium for you because you got a degree in supply chain management. So if you're majoring in three distinct yet related functional areas, those being purchasing, operations, and logistics management, you want jobs in those areas because you majored in it, and companies will pay a premium for you for jobs in those areas because you majored in it. If you get an interview with an asset-based 3PL or 4PL, I personally have no issues with that whatsoever because that's what you majored in. The logistics industry, when you add up all the dollar signs, the movement of goods and services, in America, we have about a $21 trillion economy. Over $1 trillion of that, if you include humans and planes, is moving stuff around. Of that $1+ trillion of movement in America annually, $1 trillion industry, that's what logistics is, probably 400 billion of that is the 3PL and 4PL industry of moving stuff around for people, like TV sets and car parts and cars to the dealership and home appliances to customers' homes and installing them. So that industry in itself, when you add up all the dollar signs, is a $400 billion industry. If you get a job with a 3PL or a 4PL that's asset-based, what I mean by asset-based is they actually move the stuff around. They employ people, they have trucks, they have containers on trains, they have arrangements with commercial jetliners to move freight around. So they actually own things, move things, they own forklifts. So asset-based 3PLs and 4PLs are companies in the logistics industry that actually do things like move stuff around, and you're majoring in that. You should eat it up and you should gravitate towards it because it's a growth industry. It keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger from one year to the next, and there's no end in sight. Small to medium-sized companies, they don't want to do any logistics because they don't have the resources and they're not very good at it. What's happened rather recently is large companies, Fortune 500 types, have said, we used to do this stuff ourselves, and that's not our core competency. And now there are companies out there that are big enough and good enough where they can do this stuff for us. An example would be Whirlpool used to do all of this stuff themselves, Now they've outsourced that mostly to JB Hunt and Penske, in particular JB Hunt, because they trust them. JB Hunt proved to them, we'll get the stuff to your factories and we'll get your products to your customers. We'll store it, we'll install it. Think about that. Whirlpool has actually entrusted an asset-based 4PL, that being JB Hunt, to take its home appliances and deliver it to its customers and install it for them. These aren't Whirlpool people. That's really trusting your 4PL. And people have asked me, are 4PLs and 3PLs a commodity because you got hundreds, if not thousands, of companies to choose from and they compete like crazy against each other? Yeah, they kind of are like a commodity, but they're kind of not like a commodity, because do you really want to manage them like a commodity? Like if you go with a low-cost 3PL or 4PL, imagine if stuff goes wrong and what the consequences are. So you outsource something to JB Hunt. If you manage them like a commodity and hack away at their margins, think about what's at stake here. Inbound, outbound, warehousing, distribution, installation. So usually with 3PLs and 4PLs, you're not managing that like a commodity. You're managing that like something that's core and strategic, because it is. Because if you mess up with who you pick and how you manage them, the consequences are very, very dire economically. Okay, so those are 3PLs and 4PLs, asset-based. Here's the problem. I have students that major in supply chain management that pursue careers and things that don't require a supply chain management degree. And sometimes that's a conscious decision, which is fine, fantastic, have at it. And sometimes they kind of stumble into it, not realizing what they were getting themselves into. And that sometimes happens with non-asset-based 3PLs and 4PLs. A non-asset-based 3PL and 4PL means they don't really do anything themselves when it comes to logistics. They're basically like a middleman or a broker that kind of sits in the middle and waits for a phone call from a potential client or customer. They get that phone call, the client or customer says, I got to move product A to spot B, okay? And the non-asset-based 3PL or 4PL says, okay, I don't actually move stuff around, but I can find someone that does because of my network and my technology and my relationships. So that 3PL calls up a truck driver and says, look, I need you to move product A to location B. Truck driver says, sure, I'll do it. And you say, how much would you do it for? You say, the truck driver says, I'll do it for $900. Okay, so you're the 3PL. You go back to the client or customer or potential customer and say, yeah, I can get it to point B, but it's going to cost you $1,000. And the customer says, no problem, let's do it. And then you, the 3PL, the broker, the middleman, you pocket the $100. So you get $1,000 from the customer, you give $900 to the truck driver, then you pocket the remaining $100. It's called a commission. So I just want to throw that out there, that most jobs with non-asset-based 3PLs, non-asset-based 4PLs, they're just a middleman that basically help you meet your logistics needs without actually doing anything themselves. What they do is they take potential customers and clients and match them up with the people that actually have the assets, the truck driver, the one with the truck, the one with the warehouse, the one with the distribution center, and they match them up and they collect a commission or a fee or a middleman. It's an actual industry, it's booming, and there are a ton of jobs out there with non-asset-based 3PLs and 4PLs. They tend to be with companies like C.H. Robinson, TQL, Coyote Logistics, and if you asked, well, what's their core competency? They know the customers and the clients, the people that need help with logistics, and they know the people that can provide them, and then they bring them together. Now, this is what I'm trying to say, is that these are sales jobs. If you work for a middleman in the logistics industry, in the non-asset-based 3PL, non-asset-based 4PL industry, you're basically in sales. You're largely making your salary off of a commission. You're in essence a middleman or a broker. Is there anything wrong with that? Absolutely not. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I would just say, well, then why didn't you major in sales if that's your thing? But I have students that major in supply chain management that realize they have a flair for sales and they like it, and this is what they do because they understand the logistics because they majored in it, but then they also have this sales side to them. They want to tap into that skill set. You can make a lot of money doing this. You have to be aggressive, persistent. Imagine if you're working at a non-asset-based 3PL and someone calls you up and says, yeah, I want to move $10 million worth of stuff legally, and it's legit. The commission on $10 million, you've just hit the jackpot. And what if they call you up and say, I want to do this every week? You've hit the jackpot. You're a millionaire. Now, what are the chances of someone calling you up randomly and it being legal and legit and saying, I want to move $10 million worth of stuff this week? It's probably not going to happen. And then you find someone that says, I want to do it every week. That person on the other end, that potential client or customer, is probably going to go directly to an asset-based 3PL or 4PL and say, I got $10 million worth of weekly business to give to someone. I want to give it to you, but let's negotiate the terms and conditions of the contract. Let's see what you have to offer, and let's see if we can come to terms on this. So it's not going to probably work that way. It's usually people that call you up at a non-asset-based 3PL that needs things periodically. They're not well leveraged and networked with people that can provide it. So you get these random calls on occasion from people, and if you make them happy, maybe they call you every 6 or 7 weeks and ship larger and larger amounts of business to you. But then they finally figure out, well, I'm paying a premium or a commission for this one. I go directly to the asset-based 3PLs and 4PLs. But by then you've moved on with other clients and customers. I've heard of former students that do very well, and it can be very lucrative. It doesn't happen overnight. I personally wouldn't want to work off of a largely commission-based salary because I want a steady paycheck. I like promotions. I like to double my salary every 5 to 10 years through base pay, not commissions. But that's the sales world, and I would argue that if that appeals to you, maybe major in sales, but there's nothing wrong with majoring in supply chain management and then going into sales and actually working for one of these non-asset-based 3PLs and 4PLs. It's an industry that's absolutely exploded, mostly because the logistics industry as a whole has exploded. Again, over $1 trillion a year. That 3PL, 4PL part of the logistics industry is probably approaching $500 billion annually, and it just keeps growing and growing because if it's not your core competency, you want to pay someone to move it for you where that is their core competency. All right, that's it on the difference between a 3PL and 4PL, asset-based versus non-asset-based. Thank you.